The objectives of this lesson is to round whole numbers and decimals to a given place value. So the rules for rounding whole numbers. Step 1, you should locate the place to which the whole number is going to be rounded. Step 2, look at the next digit to the right of that number. So in other words, to the right of the place value to which the number is being rounded. And then what you're going to do is step 3A, you're going to, if that digit to the right of it is less than 5, you're going to replace it and all the digits following it with zeros. Now, don't change the digit in the place to which the number is being rounded. Now, if that number to the right of the digit that's being rounded is 5 or greater, then what you're going to do is replace it and all the digits following it with zeros. But you're also going to add one digit to the place to which the number is being rounded. Okay? Now, if adding 1 to a 9, replace the 9 with the 0 and then add 1 to the next column to the left. And if that digit is also a 9, then you'll do that same procedure, which is replace it with a 0 and then put a 1 to the left of it. So, more so than talking it out, let's do some examples because I think you'll understand it a lot better if we do some examples. So here we're asked to round 1,358 to the nearest thousand. So if we look at our place value chart, with place value, you're going to have your decimal, and then to the left of the decimal, you're going to have your ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and millions place. To the right of the decimal, the number gets smaller, and it's the tenths place, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. So in other words, the THS family is to the right, and our regular place values are to the left. So again, we want to round this number to the nearest thousands, and so the thousands place would be right where the 1 is located. So step 1, we want to look to the right of that number, which is in this case, it would be the 3. And then we're going to use the rule. If that number is less than 5, which it is, it's a 3, then what we're going to do is replace that number and all the digits following it, so all the digits behind it, we're going to replace them with zeros. So when we do so, the number will round to 1,000. So again, if the number to the right of the number that's being rounded, in this case, we were asked to round to the thousands place. To the right of that was a 3. That number was less than 5. So that 3, as well as everything behind it, becomes a 0. And that is why it rounds to 1,000. In this next example, we're asked to round 453,258 to the nearest hundreds place. So on our place value chart, our hundreds place is where the 2 is. So we're going to look to the right of that, which is where the 5 is located. So if that number is 5 or more, which it is, we're going to replace it and all the numbers following it with zeros, but then we're going to add 1 to the number in front of it, the place value that's being rounded. So this, instead of being a 2, when we add 1 to it, it becomes a 3. So that will be 3, but then everything behind it is a 0. So the number rounds to 453,300. Now let's go over the procedures for rounding decimals. So the first steps would be the same as steps 1 and 2 for whole numbers, which is whatever digits you're asked to round to, you're going to look to the right of that number and then use steps 3A and B to determine what you're going to do with it. So let's do an example. Here we're asked to round 0.9175 to the nearest tenths place. So remember, the THS family is to the right of the decimal, so the 10th place is the first digit that you get to the right. So since we are rounding to that place, we are going to look to the right of that number, and to the right of that is a 1. If that number is less than 5, you're going to drop all the digits to the right of the place value being rounded. In other words, you're going to drop that 1 and everything behind it. So what it rounds to is 0.9. Again, if the digit to the right is less than 5, drop all the digits to the right of the place value to which the number is being rounded. In this last example, we're asked to round 16.748 to the nearest hundredths place. So step 1 is to locate the hundredths place. So that's going to be 2 digits moving to the right of that decimal, which is where the number 4 is. And now we're going to look to the right of that, and that is where the 8 is. So if to the right of the number being rounded, which is the 8, if that number is greater than 5, the rule says to drop that number and all the digits following it, and we're going to add 1 to the place that is being rounded. So drop the 8, and then we're going to add 1 to the 4, which makes that 5, so it will round to 16.75. So again, if the digit to the right of the number that's being rounded is 5 or greater, drop that digit and then add 1 to the place to the number that which is being rounded.